It is not the situation we had in Minnesota where the new guy stepped in. It appears McCaffrey is doing at least something different. It's not the offense. Shocker to everybody.
McCaffrey,
He's
he's sneaky athletic.
You're about to get us just shut down. All right, welcome to the Week 8 preview of the DB2 podcast. We're here, David Brem, Daniel Butler as always. Butler, you ready to talk about Week 8?
I am ready. I am so ready. It's almost halfway through the year. Where does the time go? But
I
hopefully, your seasons are going really well. And as now per usual, when we do this, I want to just go through again. I'm gonna go super quick because I've done this last couple weeks. Go through the top 10 at each position throughout the year. There's a little bit of shakeups, a few spots, but obviously we're starting to get more locked in. There's more games played. But on a points per game basis, there is something I'm going to talk about here at quarterback. Josh Allen is quarterback one. He's been incredible. Tom Brady at quarterback two, incredible. Jalen Hurts now quarterback three, so impressive what he does, especially rushing. Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes fell all the way to six. Matthew Stafford at seven, Justin Herbert at eight, Dak Prescott at 9, and Kirk Cousins there at 10. There's your guy Kirk, still at 10 because he had a bye week, so he didn't move there. And then we'll talk about the Houston Texans, but on a points per game basis, Tyrod right there. And somebody else who's a very bad man, Aaron Rodgers, number 12, is making us look foolish. He's coming up. He's coming.
Last time I checked, 12 is still outside of 10.
Yeah, but he was at like 18 like 2 weeks ago.
Well, then I'm taking credit.
Yeah. Running back Derrick Henry still 5 point, even with his mediocre running back 13 or whatever this week.
We talked about that pre-show.
Yeah,
like the only
he's
running
still
back in the world.
way ahead of the field. I'm talking PPR, by the way, as well. Derrick Henry 1, Eckler 2, Kamara 3, had a great day, obviously. Harris 4, basically tied with Kamara, tied it with third, really. DeAndre Swift, and 5, Christian McCaffrey on a points per game. I know he's missed a lot. 6, Patterson at 7, Elliott at 8, Jonathan Taylor at 9, and James Robinson at 10. Just missing the top 10, we have Aaron Jones, Darrell Henderson, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, who's missed a few games as well. But nothing really switched this week, I think. Derrick Henry came back a little tiny bit. But yeah, outside of that, nothing crazy. Now it gets fun when we get to wide receiver. Cooper Kupp is the Derrick Henry of wide receivers. He is so far ahead of the field. Yeah. He's over 5. He's like 5.5 points, which is what Derrick Henry is over the field. Then Deebo Samuel, still looking great. Tyreek Hill at 3. Jamar Chase, wide receiver 4. He couldn't see the ball in preseason, so this is incredible. Devontae Adams 5, Mike Williams 6, Antonio Brown. He's missed a couple games, but he's at points per game number 7. Hollywood Brown at 8, Justin Jefferson right there as well, and then Mike Evans and Deontay Johnson tied for 10. So I think the big surprise obviously is Jamar Chase being a 4. I don't think any of us we didn't drafted him wide receiver 4. Pretty surprised.
Not surprised. Nope.
But Deontay Johnson now with Juju being out, I think this is going to be something with the Pittsburgh wide receivers. We've talked a lot about them, but he's number 10. Yeah, so that's cool to see, and I think he's going to be a top 10 guy or right there rest of the season. Tight ends, Gronk still 1. He's only played a few games, though, at points per game. Kelsey, he's still the best. Andrews, Schultz, Kyle Pitts, he's been coming alive. Waller, Knox, Gesicki, Hawkinson, and Noah Fant. Hunter Henry just missing out, who has been pretty solid as well. And I think Jonnu might miss some time, maybe out a week or two, so maybe makes Hunter Henry a little bit interesting there. But I think the big thing for tight ends, obviously, there's some names you didn't necessarily expect, but Dalton Schultz, obviously, we've talked about him, but Kyle Pitts, we'll talk more about him when we get there, but
it's a Knox,
I have some stuff. I have some stuff I want to talk about with Kyle Pitts when we get there, but that's the top 10 guys. Nothing too much different from the previous weeks, except we just see that Derrick Henry is not going to score 30 plus every week. I guess this might be the only week he doesn't. And
okay with that, because this is the week I played against
Cooper Kupp continues to just be absolutely incredible. I think Julian Edelman, it was him, yeah. He tweeted out, he said he's like sneaky athletic or something. He said something like that about Cooper Kupp because, whenever a white guy is good, they always use those terms. I mean, it's not like that's just the way it is. That's how it was with Julian Edelman. It's like they can't be fast. There's not how many fast wide receivers are there. They're always sneaky athletic. I don't know. That's that's.
Oh no, you're 100% correct.
Cooper Kupp, he's very good. He's a good football player. I know that he does.
Yeah,
he does good things.
yeah, he's having a heck of a year. So
let's dive into the games though. We got a pretty nice game here. Well, hopefully, Green Bay's got a lot of stuff going over there with the COVID.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody has it, but maybe some false positives, or maybe there was officially. I'm not sure. As the time of recording, I don't think anything's officially come out on any well, there has been positive
Not on a
tests.
second. I haven't read anything on a second test.
Yeah,
yet.
but Devontae Adams. So it's Green Bay versus Arizona Cardinals, and yeah, this was supposed to be a really good game, but we'll see who's available in Green Bay. Obviously, Adams. It looks like he's probably going to be out. Lazard looks like he'll be out as well, and I was really high on Lazard in this game.
Yeah, way to make our yesterday's episode just irrelevant immediately.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and say I was high on Lazard because we see him decently involved, somewhat I guess, but I'm not gonna be high on Cobb. I just don't know what's gonna happen if it's.
I think if Scantling plays, I'm reasonably high on him, but
yeah, and that's true. If he does play, Valdez-Scantling, it looks like he will play, or I should say, it looks like he will play. There's a shot he plays. That's definitely interesting, I guess. If you're in a desperate spot, I do still think he's probably late 30s probably ranked. He's still a deeper league, or if you're really needing a wide receiver, you probably have better options. It's a little risky, but the upside is a lot. I think there's one of these wide receivers could have a huge day, because it's Aaron Rodgers, and he has no one to throw to. So Robert Tonyan as well, I think, could have a really nice day as well. He's finally had a nice, solid day, got in the end zone.
You know why that is? I finally dropped him. I finally gave up on him.
I think he's a top 10 guy this week. So Robert Tonyan, I think, is a pretty good play, and he should be available because nobody probably kept him. Maybe picked him up now, but if he's still out there, he's a solid streaming option, I think. And maybe this is the beginning of him really getting back to where he was.
Yeah, one of those guys to look out for, especially if your tight ends on bye, which is, I mean, a decent chance. There's a couple of good tight ends on, two of the top tight ends are on bye this week, with Waller and Adams. Andrews.
Yeah, and I'm really high. I don't know. I'm really high on Aaron Jones this week. I think he's one of the best running back. I mean, he's one of the best anyway. But I think they're gonna really focus on Aaron Jones. I think he's probably. I think he's a top 5 guy this week. Really high on him. I know he didn't have a great day, but he only ran it 6 times. I think they're gonna.
Well, and they might have to lean on him pretty hard just because of everything going on.
I think Aaron Jones, this could be a big day for him. I don't think the Arizona defense is. I mean, they're good. They're a good football team, obviously, but I think the defense can be attacked. So I'm pretty high on Aaron Jones.
Even with everybody out, I know you kind of touched on this with Cobb. I'm just willing to be wrong if he goes off. I don't trust it. I wouldn't feel good about with only 2 teams on bye. There's just not enough openings, I think, to make him worth the risk.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well.
So, other side of the ball, some no doubters on that side with the Cards. Obviously, Kyler's had a stud, and you're doing all that, but Hopkins, same deal. That's kind of a little bit where it stops. Edmonds and Connor, if you have to, you might be in that spot. But Ertz looked good in his first game as a Cardinal.
Yeah, that touchdown, that 47-yard touchdown he had,
helps,
I believe that obviously was a big piece of it. But I don't know about if you remember that play, but coming across the field, a beautiful pass by Kyler, but even probably a better catch by Ertz. Just really amazing play. But just how fast, it's kind of crazy because I didn't really think Zach Ertz. I played Madden, and it always seems like they make him pretty slow. He's always a slow guy running down the field. But he looked pretty fast on that play to be able to get upfield and get that 40, that long touchdown. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, it was against Houston, so who knows how much effort they're really putting in. But yeah, I'd like to see that. He did have 5 targets, and that's pretty good in this offense, honestly. If you're going to get 5 targets, 3 for 66, that's pretty solid. AJ Green, also 3 for 66, didn't have a touchdown, but he continues to be on the field all the time. So it's I think this is legit. AJ Green, I think we got to say he's a top 40-ish wide receiver.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he's been okay. And Hopkins, I
Kirk
wanted
had
to.
another. Kirk did have another top 20 game. So
I
good to
did,
see that.
yeah. I like to see Hopkins get 9 targets. Obviously, get in the end zone here. I think he could have had a second touchdown too, if I remember. But yeah, he got in the end zone here. Maybe it would have just been a longer touchdown. It might have been that same drive that he did get it. But 7 for 53 and a touchdown. Still not what you paid for though. He's had 3 nice solid weeks in a row, which you like to see that. But I maintain I think he's probably like the number 10 wide receiver rest of the season. I think there's a lot of guys that's passed him. Jamar Chase being one of them. But and then many other guys, even like Debo Samuel, who's been incredible. I think he probably is right around at 10, and you draft him at 4. Obviously, you're still playing him. There's not much you can do about that. But
Yeah.
I think even getting in the end zone, being wide receiver 11, looks like his upside. It's just the offense is so good. They're undefeated. Like, they don't need to force feed Hopkins when you have A.J. Green playing well, and you have now Zach Ertz and Chase Edmonds and James Conner. They like to run the ball, as well as Christian Kirk. Rondale Moore, they like to get the ball. Like, they have so much talent. I will say with the running backs, they're both like flex plays. James Conner is the goal line guy, so I guess you have the upside of touchdowns, but Chase Edmonds probably more likely to get the receiving work. So they're both about what you paid for him when you drafted him. It looked like Chase Edmonds was looking pretty solid, and now it's like, it's basically, it's not. Chase Edmonds did get a way more of the snaps this game, but when Connor was in, they fed him the ball, and they both looked good. I thought it was against Houston though, so take that for what it is. But they both, I thought, looked really good.
Yeah. All right. Starting off on Sunday, Panthers Falcons. Chuba didn't do fantastic. He hasn't. It is not the situation we had in Minnesota where the new guy stepped in. It appears McCaffrey is doing at least something different. It's not the offense. Shocker to everybody.
McCaffrey, he's sneaky athletic.
You're about to get us just shut down. You're just gonna do all that.
Come on, that's such a popular. That's not even.
No,
like...
I know you're 100% right. But for you, I know at least when he first took over and for a few weeks, we called Chuba kind of a must start. Do you think he still falls there, or?
Yeah, I think he does. I do think it is one of those situations where it's a team that wants to, Darnold has not played well the last few weeks. No doubt about that. He's fallen off quite a bit. We were a little high. We thought, this could be legit. Like, Darnold, he looks pretty good. Not really going well lately. But yeah, I think it's somebody who still is probably top 20, I say. So, I mean, you could legitimately have better guys, and I may not start him this week. I got DeAndre Swift and Dalvin Cook, and so it's the decision if he's my flex or not. I only have 2 running backs, so I'm in a good spot there where I may play him or I may play somebody else, but I probably end up going with a wide receiver in that spot. So I will probably bench him, but I still think he's probably like a fringe top 20 guy. I think it's just volume wise, but he had 4 catches as well. Didn't get in the end zone. Wide receiver 29 or running back 29 gets in the end zone. Obviously, that puts him top 20. I think obviously Darnold wasn't good in this game. I think he'll be a lot better against this Atlanta Falcons team. So I think this could be a pretty solid week overall for the Carolina offense. At least kind of get back on track.
Yeah. DJ Moore is really the only guy in the passing
He's very
receiving
good.
game you're worried about. Yeah.
Every time I watch him, I'm just like, man, this guy's so good. Robbie Anderson, 9 targets again, but only 3 for 14. It's not like he doesn't get the targets. I'm not saying they're good targets. But it's not like he doesn't get the targets. He's just it's one of those guys who gets so much volume target wise, or he has the last few weeks I've noticed, and nothing happens.
He's just not doing anything with him.
I think if you got to drop him, he's one of those guys. Again, talked about it. Like, don't really mind
okay with
way.
that. Other side of the ball, we got the Falcons. Ridley had another disappointing day. We've talked about guys you drafted early at wide receiver that just aren't like. Ridley owners, me being one of them, would be super excited if he only fell as far as Hopkins has fallen. But Ridley's still a guy you got to put out there. The upside is so big, and I keep saying that, but he has 1 week inside the top 20, and that was a 16. Like, it wasn't like he had a great week. So, hopefully, if you got some Falcons, you also got Cordell because you kind of helped yourself because he had another top 20 game. Obviously, not the 1s and 4s we got earlier, but I think we'll take that all day from him. And like you said earlier in the show, Pitts is finally looking like the tight end we all kind of expected him to be.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about Pitts because that's the only thing I really have to talk about really on this game. So I'm going to wait for that. But yeah, Patterson continues to be great. Yeah, he's currently running back 7 on a points per game basis. So obviously, if you have him, put him out there. Ridley, I do want to just I don't even know if he's a top okay. So Hopkins, I believe, has fallen from like 4 to 10, maybe. Ridley, 5, maybe not even. He might be top 20, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's somewhere in that. I think
he's probably
the numbers
just
don't
inside
show
the
it.
top 20, I think.
That's kind of what I was saying. Like 15 to 20, probably at the end of that.
Yeah. So obviously, it's been disappointment there with Ridley for sure, and so I guess I have to think about that as a Hopkins owner in one of my leagues. At least I didn't draft Ridley, if I
Exactly.
so let's look at it that way. But yeah, that's something that I still think. Obviously, you're playing him. You're not going to sit him, but it's just. It just stinks there. Now, Matt Ryan, I think continues. He was solid this game, not amazing, but he was okay. I think this offense, obviously, as he plays well, I think he's a pretty good quarterback. I think he's a top 12 guy. Like he's pretty solid. So he's playing well. Then Kyle Pitts, man, I thought about this as I saw some of the catches and saw some of these plays. 7 for 163. Didn't even get into the end zone. Tight end 2. I'm going to say something that maybe is too quick to... Maybe I shouldn't be saying it yet. Is Kyle Pitts the best receiving tight end in football? Just receiving. Just ignore everything else. Is he the best? I kind of think he is. I know he's not the blocking. He doesn't have the whole... I'm not saying he's the best tight end. You got Kelsey. You got Kittle. Yeah. You got these other guys. Waller. They have some other guys. And I'm not saying he's there yet. But just as a pure... He's like a receiver, but he's a tight end. I think he's a different breed than all the other guys. I will say what makes me kind of like with Kelsey is he just has like... It seems like he doesn't have to be... He's a big guy. Obviously, he's not the fastest guy. But he just always gets open. He finds the spot. Which is impressive. I don't want to downplay Kelsey. He's amazing. But I'm kind of thinking, as I'm watching this, that like this might be the best receiving tight end in football right here. Kyle Pitts already.
I like when you ask me questions, then you take my answer. Like that's really fun for me. But no, I think you could make an argument it too. I just think exactly what you said about Kelsey. Kelsey just always finds a way to get open. And to me, while maybe Pitts has a higher chance of a big play, he's got a little bit more speed. He's got a little more of that. I still think I would take, just receiving wise, Kelsey's ability to get open over the big play ability of Pitts.
So a 3rd and 10, pretty much an obvious passing down. You would say Kelsey, and then Pitts is your let's just their pass. It's a 3rd and 10. You think Kelsey would be better to be on the field?
Yeah, because I think Kelsey's gonna get 11
that's kind of
yards down the field to just get open.
Yeah, that's kind of like I think that's probably the case, but I think he's number 2, and I think that's kind of again he's coming he's coming now. Kyle Pitts is if you were redrafting, he was drafted at tight end 4, and early on you're like it didn't seem great. He's there now. I think he's like 3 or 4, so he's right up there.
I think next year he'll probably be the 3rd tight end off the board.
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, he very well.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean maybe 2, but I think
higher.
he'll probably end up being 3.
Yeah. I doubt he'll be 1, but yeah, he could be 2 or 3 as well.
I still think Kittle. I think still people draft Kittle above him still.
Kelsey. Oh, Kittle. Kelsey at 1, obviously. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Quite a bit to talk about. We're gonna kind of breeze through some of this. We are gonna talk about the Titans receiving core in a shorter episode later this week. But like we said, Derrick Henry, terrible week, just awful. The 13th best running back. Luckily, this is the week I had to play him, so I was pretty excited about it. But only running back in football that at 13, their owner was supremely disappointed, like just crazy disappointed. So, Tannehill, a guy we brought up as maybe a streaming option, was a top 12 guy, had a decent day. AJ Brown finally kind of had a day where you drafted him. Other than
Yeah, he
that,
was
I
great.
mean, nothing crazy exciting in this game for this team.
Yeah, I don't think there's much there. AJ Brown, obviously, it's good to see. Just an AJ Brown, just like this, kind of what you paid for, I guess. He's had these types of games. That was good. Derrick Henry, 3 yards a carry. I mean, what is he doing? I mean, how's it? I mean,
Get it together.
yeah, but he has 900 yards, about 10 rushing touchdowns on the season, so I guess he's okay. Yeah, and you mentioned it, Tannehill, like a really solid game, really good. I mean, this
Yeah.
was just a beatdown of Kansas City, which no one's seen. Even if you thought
Yeah.
Tennessee could, I personally thought Kansas City could lose to. I thought Tennessee's going to play them tough because they're going to run through Henry, and I don't think their defense is very good. And Henry could
Mhm.
have a huge day, and they could just control the game. Henry didn't have a huge day, and it was a complete domination. Mahomes looked not great, and this was just, yeah, it looked like a mismatch. And I was wrong. I thought Tennessee was not that good a football team. I thought the whole division was awful, and I actually think Indianapolis looks. I think Indianapolis is a pretty solid team, and Tennessee, which we'll talk about the Colts here in a second because they're playing them, looks to
Oh.
be one of the better teams in the AFC. So, yeah, I know it's the Chiefs, but I know they're not looking good, but this was not just Tennessee beating Kansas City. They beat the brakes off of them. This game was never competitive.
Yeah. Can I point out one thing about Derrick Henry real quick?
Okay.
So he had his worst day, not necessarily of the season because was bad week 1, but like a very even in a day you're disappointed with him, he threw a touchdown. Like this guy, like it's. I just hope he can stay healthy because I want to see what he does. Like I just want to see what his numbers look like.
I
They're
want
gonna
to
be
see him
insane.
rush for 2,000 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Like you said, Colts on the other side of the ball. Wentz cracked his way into the top 10 this week. Not something I'd get too excited about. I think NFL wise he's fine, but I don't think he's going to be a guy you want to start in fantasy anytime soon, unless you're in a deeper league. But Taylor still awesome. Pittman though, we talked about him last week. Pittman had a top 10 day, looked really good.
Yeah, so I want to push back a little bit, just a little bit, not too much. Carson Wentz, the last 4 weeks, really, and honestly, he's been pretty good. And like obviously
Yeah.
from an NFL standpoint, he's pretty good. But here he had a rushing touchdown, so that always, that's going to help
Yeah.
whenever you look at the fantasy numbers. This game was played in pouring rain when Jimmy Garoppolo is on. They're like, yeah, how much can you blame him because of the weather? And 100%,
weather.
like I'm with you there. But Wentz was actually pretty good. Like, I mean, I know he only threw it 26 times, but he actually looked pretty solid. And he was playing in the same weather. So unless something happened where, like, I don't know, like God was coming in and not putting, wind and doing all these things to help Wentz. I didn't see that on the field. All right, it looked like they were playing in the same conditions.
No, I gave him credit for this week.
So,
But are you like excited to put Wentz in your fantasy lineup every week?
I mean, he's currently quarterback 18, but the last 3 weeks he's been top 13. 9 in week 5, 13 week 6, 10 in week 7. I think as a streaming option, depending on who they play. I wouldn't play him this week, but I think there are weeks that you might play him. With that said, they played Jackson. They're in the division with Jacksonville and Houston. I'm sure there's some games in there you might be interested.
I play anybody versus Houston.
But this is a coin flip game for me. I think Tennessee is a 1-point favorite, and that's kind of where I see it. I think this could go either way. But Jonathan Taylor's been incredible. If we drafted him, that's where he is. But yeah, he is currently running back 9 on a points per game basis. You drafted him at 9. But the first 3 weeks, week 1 was good, but 2 and 3 was not great. His last 4 weeks, running back 8, 2, 3, and 7. Like that is besides Derrick Henry. I don't know if anybody's quite like that. That's pretty impressive. So he's been good. Michael Pittman had a long touchdown. So I think it was a touchdown, 57-yarder. So he's good, and I like Michael Pittman rest of the season. We've talked about it. I think he's like a top like 25 guy. I like him rest of the season. He's the only receiver really there. So I think Wentz is serviceable, and that doesn't, maybe you don't play him, but with Michael Pittman, it might make you more excited to use him.
Yeah, and that's where I hope he plays well because that's good for Pittman, and I think that's kind of where the fantasy relevance lies. Dolphins Bills. Oh, sorry. The ranking's in the wrong spot. I got confused for a second.
Oh,
Uh,
my bad.
no
Let me
worries.
fix it.
No. I'm like, I don't think Brissett played. Who had a very good game. Number 3 quarterback this week. A guy who, last couple weeks, I mean, 10-3. You get that added value on the ground, which honestly wasn't a ton of this. He had 4 for 29, so that's not a huge amount, but every little bit helps. But threw for almost 300 yards. Um, he's a guy that on your quarterback's bye week could be in consideration, which I don't think we would have thought a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
not when he
mean,
was, yeah,
he's been pretty solid. I mean, we'll see what happens with the Deshaun Watson stuff. Obviously, that's very interesting there. But Buffalo's a huge favorite here, so
yeah,
this is not. I would not feel good about playing anybody besides Gesicki here. But I don't think you probably play Tua against Buffalo if you can avoid it.
no,
But yeah, he's been really solid. This was a really good, and yeah, getting 3 points basically from rushing. I mean, you definitely take that. Miles
that
Gaskin
helps.
averaging 4.5 yards a carry, as well as getting. I think did he have a receiving touchdown? Four catches for 10 yards. That's 5 points in a PPR plus a receiving touchdown. He had 11 points there, made him a top 10 running back. So yeah, Gaskin, you playing him? I still think probably. I doubt you have better options. And then the tight end, probably not much else, just because it's Buffalo.
Yeah,
This has
has
blowout written
bloodbath
all.
written
Yeah,
all over it.
but we'll see. We'll see. You never know. These divisional games, sometimes they can surprise you.
Yeah. So, like I said, on the other side, we got Buffalo. We talked about the top tens. Allen's been lights out this season. Um, Diggs. So here's something I want to touch on real quick. So everybody's like super happy about Diggs. I'm not saying you shouldn't be. Like, not happy where you drafted him, but like a top 20 guy, you're like, I'm still starting him every week. Emmanuel Sanders, who we've talked about, is 3 spots behind him overall in the year. And I feel like Sanders, other than from us, is getting no love anywhere.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
people have not been. I mean, he's currently a wide receiver 22. Another solid week. I mean, look at the last 4 weeks. I'm guessing you might even went there, but yeah, week 3, number 5, week 4, number 28, week 5, 14, and week 6, number 23 wide receiver. So that's 4 straight weeks. So after week 3, you might have picked him up. You're like, okay, is this for legit? And then he's wide receiver 28, which you may not have been super excited about, but you're like, I could play that. I can go with
oh
28.
yeah,
That's not bad. And then he produces for you, giving you 14. He might have been in your lineup in week 5. I'm sure he wasn't probably in your lineup in week 4, definitely not in week 3. But so you couldn't take advantage of that number 5 spot. But by week 5, you could have. And then in week 6, number 23, he's in your lineup. You're pretty happy with that, especially like in deeper leagues if you're using him. So yeah, I mean, I think he's been really, really good. No doubt about that the last 4 weeks. And I think obviously he should be owned in 8 targets. This Josh Allen guy is pretty good. Cole Beasley is not been. I mean, this game was pretty good as well. So yeah,
yeah,
I
12
think
weeks ago,
it's
yeah,
obviously a lot of people are putting Beasley over Sanders. Obviously, I think it is clearly Sanders
yeah,
over Beasley, and Diggs is clearly the number one. And I think Diggs will separate himself. I think he'll get back up in the top 10 territory, but not where you drafted him. But he'll keep moving up throughout the
yeah.
season. But yeah,
And Knox has been a nice surprise. Um, he's I mean, he's just a plug and play at this point. You don't, other than last week on his bye. I think this could be a huge week for Moss. Like we've said, we expect this to kind of get away from Miami, and really the Bills could be up big. I think they could just lean on Moss and let him run out the second half of this game.
Yeah, and we'll see. I'm really interested in this to see the separation between him and Singletary, the snap counts and the carry count. In this game, you saw in week 6, you saw 8 carries for Moss, 5 for Singletary. I want to see what that separation is. That's going to be important because you might not be playing Moss or Singletary, but Moss will say you have Moss. You may not be playing him this week because you have better options, but I'm interested to see. You may not. He's probably like around like running back 20ish. So depending on what the rest of your roster is, but if you don't play him, which I'm in a position where I probably won't play him, I'm gonna wait. I'm curious to see because I might be playing him soon. So
Yeah,
just something to look out for. We'll talk about in the future weeks, I'm sure.
yeah. All right, Bengals Jets. Probably the team we've talked one of the teams we talked about the most. Burrow was lights out this week, number 2. Got himself up to the 14th ranked quarterback. Um, I mean, looks great. A guy who's I still don't. He's not in that like must start quarterback spot, but there's a chance you're the way your team worked out, like or on bye weeks. There's not better options on bye weeks for sure. If for some reason he's out there. Um, Chase, number 2, love to see it. Couldn't be happier. Um, it's all kind of the regular guys. The only, I mean, I don't want to say the only. Uzuma was the number 1 again. He got in the end zone twice, so that helps a ton. We've talked about him as a streaming option. I still don't think he's a guy that you can like week in and week out rely on. He's so touchdown dependent. Um, but I know a guy that you're interested in, and P Ryan actually outperformed Joe Mixon this game, fantasy points wise.
Yeah, and that's because of the catch there. Really, everything else was pretty similar. But the thing is, I mean, they were pretty close this week. It was really just one catch for 23 yards that and Mixon didn't have any catches that separates them here a few points. But the thing that I think is most interesting is it was basically a 50-50 split. Like when it comes to snap counts as well, not just I mean, if you look at the box score, like 12 carries for Mixon, 11 for 12 touches each actually, because P Ryan got a catch as well. So it was basically a 50-50. I still think clearly Mixon is the guy, but that's just something. Now this game, Cincinnati, it could be game flow. I always think like there was a lot of 2 tight end sets in this game, which I don't think we have seen as much.
Not
We
so
saw
much. No.
True Sample and Uzoma on the field a decent amount together, which we don't usually see as much. So we didn't see a whole lot of 3 wide receivers. Not we saw a lot of 3 wide receivers, not maybe as much as we have. Maybe I'm wrong there, but yeah. So that's something there. I am high on P Ryan. I think he's very interesting. Should be owned in all 12 team leagues, like 100%.
Oh yeah.
I think, especially if Mixon doesn't play, he's definitely a great option. And even if he does play, he's a nice flex consideration. But yeah, I like him. And then Jamar Chase 8 for 201. Like what the heck is like that's insane. And a touchdown. Also T Higgins. We talked about him. 7 for 62. I know that doesn't just just amazing. 15 targets. So I continue to I'm so high on Higgins. I think he drafted him at wide receiver 24. He was wide receiver 25 this week. I think he's a top 25 guy rest of the season. I think he'll be right where you drafted him. So I know Chase, he's not Chase, but if you think about it, where you drafted him, wide receiver 24, what you're going to get for him, I think you're going to get that for him. I think it's going to be the Chase show. He's clearly the number 1 guy, and Higgins will now really develop in number 2, and then Boyd is clearly the number 3.
Yeah, they've really kind of balanced themselves out, which is for a team that everybody. I mean, all those wide receivers are drafted kind of right together. Like Boyd was a little bit farther back, but
I will say I am and maybe I'm hesitant to be. I'm not overly excited. Obviously, you're playing your Bengals. This kind of feels like a game that's going to be close to me. It's a 10-point line for Cincinnati. They're the number 1 team in the AFC right now. They've never been in this situation. Like Cincinnati, there's so much hype around them. This and the Jets, with they're losing their quarterback, Flacco coming in. This kind of feels like a trap game to me. In New York, they think they're one of the better teams. They are one of the better teams after what they did to Baltimore, and I thought Baltimore might be the best team in the NFL. So I think they looked really good. But I'm nervous about this game. I like the Jets -10 or +10. I like the Jets +10 in this game. I think this game is going to be a lot closer. It's going to be an ugly game. I think. I don't think it's going to be pretty.
I think Chase is going to catch 3 touchdowns. Maybe that's just hopeful thinking. I will say this: I don't bet much, or really hardly ever. 10 is just so many points to give any NFL team. Like, I know we saw quite a few blowouts last week, it felt like, but 10 is just so many points to give an NFL team.
The Texans were not able to keep. They were 17.5, and they still did not. It was not enough.
I said NFL team, not low-level Division I college football. So, other side, with the Jets, like you said, Flacco getting traded over there. So, don't really have much on him or anything on him for the season. But we kind of touched on this. it'll be interesting to see what that does for the wide receivers in New York. If it makes a difference, if it's a bump, if it's a bad thing. I find it hard to believe it's going to be a downgrade, but I'm not as excited as what it seems like. There's a lot of people online are that this is going to be a huge boom for Corey Davis. I just don't see it being that big of a difference. That being said, Corey Davis was a top 21 quarter. He was number 21, so um, a pretty decent day last week. And both running backs had very nice days.
Yeah, Michael Carter really because of the fact. I mean, both of them
Receiving.
actually. Really only because of their receiving. Michael Carter and Ty Johnson getting 14 catches combined. So yeah, they were quite involved. That makes me a little nervous because I don't know what will happen with a new quarterback. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. We saw it was a lot of Mike White in this game, and if you didn't know who the backup for the Jets was, how could you not know Mike White? But yeah, I think there's probably a lot to do with that too, dumping it off to the running backs, and
Yeah.
because he threw it 32 times. So yeah, Zach Wilson went out early. That's the thing I'm not sure on. I'm not overly excited about this game for the running backs, Michael Carter.
No,
I
they had nice
still,
days, but
yeah, I mean, getting 8 catches from a running back is really nice. Still only running back 21, but this is a game not really playing anybody on the team. You might be forced to play Michael Carter with your buys. There's only 2 teams on buys though, but if you have Josh Jacobs and okay, it's
yeah,
the Ravens, you wouldn't probably start any of those,
hopefully not. Yeah.
but yeah, you might have Josh Jacobs, and it could be a deeper league, and maybe Michael Carter could be the guy. There's definitely situations like that, but outside of him, Corey Davis again, a deeper league. You could definitely play him. He's currently wide receiver 30, but I'm not overly excited. We talked about this, and I'm not bummed. I'm kind of like just wait and see,
Yeah.
and
I'll be
we'll
interested to see
see.
if Flacco zeroes in on a wide receiver because that could be it. Maybe there's some connection we don't really know about. Like maybe there's a receiver he really likes there, and we'll get to see that this week. That could be interesting. But as far as playing any Jets this week, I think I'm out.
And I think it will be interesting to see. Corey Davis probably will be good, but Jamison Crowder, Elijah Moore, like how did those guys? Jamison Crowder seems to me like the clear number 2. I think he is. But we'll
Mhm.
see. Yeah, I think we'll see what kind of connection that Flacco has with him if he's able to build anything there.
Yep. All right. Steelers Browns. Steelers coming off their bye week. So we don't have a ton of new information about them, obviously, but uh, Harris is, I mean, a shoe in. Johnson's, we talked about this, really picked it up since they cut it down to 2 wide receivers. Claypool was very bad in week 6, but I expect him to honestly probably be a top 30, 35 guy going forward now that they're down to 2 wide receivers. But after that, I mean, it's Harris, it's Johnson for sure, and then maybe Claypool depending on your situation.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't think there's
Okay.
much. I still think Claypool has potential to be a top 20 guy, depending on Big Ben, if he plays well. I mean, there's not much else there, but obviously, Deontay Johnson is the guy right now. I think Claypool's super talented. So if Big Ben, has good days, like I think Claypool could also. I think he could have some really big games. And Harris, I just want to mention real quick, he was drafted at running back 11. He has been over that 10 actually, 10 or lower or better every week except week 1. So if you drafted him, you're like he was number 8, 1, 5, 10, and then 4 in week 6. So good job. You picked right. That was a good pick. He's been very good.
Well done. So, other side of the ball, this it doesn't matter who plays running back for the Browns. Just doesn't matter. Dernis Johnson, number 4 running back last week. We touched on him yesterday. If you watched our episode yesterday, um, I think even once Chubb comes back, which looks like it could be this week.
Yeah, I
Probably
think he
kind of up.
is. I think he is
I think he's
back.
definitely coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, he still has value. Like he's not gonna be the number 4 running back, but this team runs 2 running backs. We've talked about it a lot. Dernis Johnson has value going forward.
Until
Where
Kareem.
that falls is kind of up to you, but
Yeah, so Kareem being out a few more weeks, I don't, I definitely a few more weeks. So as long as Kareem Hunt's out,
yeah,
um,
once he's back.
and we could be wrong on this. Maybe it will be. I don't know how you don't give him a good amount of work after this game, but maybe we'll see a lot more Demetric Felton, because in this game we saw about a 70-30 split between Johnson and Felton. And I think we kind of expected that even going in. Felton's not really the bruising type. He's definitely a receiving back, so that makes sense. But now that Chubb comes back, he's been a 50-50 with Hunt. Is it 50-50 with Johnson? Probably not. They're probably going to give Chubb a little bit more, but 60-40, I think that's definitely
it's 60-40.
likely. So I'm going to say 60-40 and 40% in a Cleveland Browns offense. That running attack, it doesn't matter. They know you're going to run it, and they still. Case Keenum was back there. He was not great. He was fine, and Dearness Johnson just ran all over him. So over Denver. So I think whoever that second running back is. Now, Felton, not so much. The reason why I didn't think he really had much value, he's the receiving back. I kind of knew going in, they're not going to hand him the ball 10 times in the backfield, probably. When it comes to Johnson, he's going to be getting the ball, even being the second running back, he's probably going to get 10 to 15 carries. I would not be surprised if he does. So definitely worth a play in a sort of flex area, I think.
Yeah. Unless you stop me, I'm going to skip over talking about any receiving options in Cleveland.
No, they're all bad. They're very bad.
All right. Next up, we got Eagles-Lions. We talked about Hurts continues just to make us look a little bit stupid. I know definitely not a guy we were super high on going into the season. Number 6 again. I mean, he's been top 10 every week. Steady as they go.
Consistent,
yeah. The running back situation last week was a little, I think, more interesting than people expected. I think people expected just it kind of be like Sanders, Gainwell, like Boston Scott looks like Sanders is going to be out, and you would normally kind of expect that to be Gainwell, and it looks like Boston Scott might have something to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like Scott might be more the run he's going to be the guy who carries the workload in the backfield, running the ball, and then Gainwell's probably going to pick up some of that, but then still be get his receiving as well. Gainwell had a solid game because of 4 for 41 and a touchdown, but in the receiving game. But yeah, I'm not overly excited about Gainwell because I don't even know if Miles Sanders is going to miss this game. But if he misses, I think Gainwell's a solid play. But Miles Sanders was trending up towards taking over this job, even more so than it was. We kind of thought maybe it's going to be, but Miles Sanders kept getting more and more snaps, more and more looks. Everything seemed to be pointing up. His schedule's looking solid. Everything is Miles Sanders buy low. He's going to have a really good rest of the season. And then the injury happens, but it looks like it's not going to be super serious. So I don't think I'm super excited about Gainwell. I think they pretty much committed to Miles Sanders before this, so I think if he's good,
assuming he's on the field for sure.
As a 1 week play, if he's out, I think Gainwell's going to be fine. I just think that Boston Scott could, you're going to be maybe frustrated if Boston Scott's in there in the red zone and getting goal line work and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is a real possibility. The only receiving option you really care about is Goddard. He had a 3 for 70, so obviously not a ton. He had 5 targets, not a ton, but still a pretty decent day for a tight end. He's a guy. If you're in that spot, there's worse people to play.
Yeah, Goddard's been fine. He's been solid. Devontae Smith, I guess, in a deeper league, you drafted him at 31.
It'd have to be fairly deep.
I mean, you drafted him at 31. He's 49. Again, if it's a 16-teamer, not this week maybe, but in weeks to come when there's more teams on bye, you might be playing him. But as of now, he's been up and down. He's had some good weeks. He's had some really bad weeks. So,
other side, Detroit Lions. Swift went off again. Number five running back on the year continues just to do it.
He's good. I am glad I got him on my team. My league, and I'm sure many other leagues, had him much lower. He fell a lot because of the injury.
Yeah, mine too.
So I got him super late, and I was not sure. I knew I had to draft him when I got there. I'm I got to take him here, but I was super excited about him, getting him in the 4th round or something. But he had an ADP for running backs at 19. He's currently 5. That's pretty good. He did have that one 63-yard receiving touchdown right at the beginning So that will help that
They
will
all
help.
count.
That's 12 points right there. I don't know how repeatable that is, but I gotta say, Campbell here, he came to coach. Like they put it all on the line. They wanted to win this game so bad, and
Oh yeah.
they played to win. They put everything out there, fakes, onside kicks, like everything they tried. I mean, a lot of it worked. They really gave the Rams, they did everything they could. So my respect for Campbell grew a lot in this game. Now, when it comes to Jared Goff, he continues to be Jared Goff.
I don't know
You know,
why I believed you'd get all the way through it. I
Siri,
don't know why I
here's the
believed
thing.
that.
I don't know why I hate on Jared Goff when I have DeAndre Swift, and he's literally the reason why DeAndre Swift is like a top
Yeah.
5 guy, because DeAndre Swift had 8 catches. Like, he throws it to the running back a lot, throws it to the tight end. Like, that
I hope
helps.
Goff watches this and then never throws a Swift again.
Yeah.
And that would hurt me as well because I'm a Swift owner. But I hope
Well,
that
I will
happens.
say this. I believe Swift is the best offensive player on your team, Jared Goff, so you should get him the ball. That's not
Nope,
even
just
that's
to
not
spite
even
you.
fantasy advice. That's just, I think it's a good idea to get it to your best player on your team. But yeah, DeAndre Swift is really good. Jared Goff. But I will say, we had Khalif Raymond, 6 for 115. I mean, looked pretty good. So maybe, there's a receiver there. I mean, I'm not saying Raymond he's going to be wide receiver 12 or a top 20 guy rest of the season, but just something, I'm looking at the last 3 weeks here he's played. Week 4, he was wide receiver 10. I don't know if he played in week 5. I have nothing. He might have just did nothing. But week 6, wide receiver 40, and then week 7, wide receiver 12. So again, I mean, there's been at least some consistency. He's involved that, maybe, again, deeper league until he proves
I mean,
it
if you
once.
have to start a Lions receiver, that's
That would
about the
be him.
only.
Yeah, that's true.
that-
But again,
like,
maybe he has another solid week in a deeper
yeah,
league. You might be more excited about starting him.
But let's be honest, it's Swift and Hawkinson.
And Swift is completely taken over this workload here with Jamal Williams as well.
Yeah, we talked about him earlier in the season.
I will say Jamal Williams. I say that, but Jamal Williams was on the field 30% of the time. Had 12 carries. So when he was on the field, they really did like running in the ball. So I think he still inherently has value because of that. He should be owned, especially if anything happens to Swift. But Jamal Williams has definitely taken a backseat to DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and the game that could be one of the biggest blowouts in football history, Rams Texans. Stafford, number 1 quarterback versus old team. Really, that's a cup number 1, no surprise. This was all about the passing game. Henderson didn't really give you what you become accustomed to. He was at 31, but the passing game, even Van Jefferson up there at number 22, like they had it all rolling last week.
Yeah, I mean they obviously playing the Lions is not the toughest of matchups, but yeah, Stafford is really good currently, quarterback 7. I still think he's probably like number 9, number 10. Probably I think I had him at 9. Probably around there rest of the season. Henderson, not his best day, but better days ahead for him, and obviously he's proven to be pretty solid. But yeah, Cooper Kupp is, I mean, he's the best. He's the best fantasy wide receiver, and if you're redrafting, he's number 1. I said I had him, I think, at 2. You had him at 1. Maybe I had him 3.
Yeah,
I had him at 2 or 3, but he's clearly number 1. I already changing my mind on that. He was 2 in week 6 and number 1 in week 7, just edging out Jamar Chase. But yeah, he's incredible. Woods 6 for 70 on 6 targets, all his targets. Every time I watch him, I like the way he plays. He seems like he's really bought into this team, so I'm still high on Woods. Maybe not at wide receiver 14 where he's drafted, but as a top 20 guy, I think he's right around there.
That's where I kind of got him.
And Van Jefferson almost got. I mean, it was, I don't know if you see the snap counts there, but 97, 97, and 94 for Van Jefferson. This is a full three wide receiver team, and then Deshaun Jackson 6%. So it's like, and some other they do not run 2 tight ends ever. It's always 3 wide receivers. So and Van Jefferson completely took all the snaps from Deshaun.
I want to give Higbee some credit. I just noticed every snap.
Yeah, it's 1 tight end, Higbee, and then it's Kupp, Woods, Jefferson, basically every play, and then Henderson. Yep. So mostly Henderson. Michelle only got 12%. So yeah, they basically had the same personnel every play. And so the third wide receiver, Van Jefferson, pretty interesting when you see that sort of snap count. He had a
Yeah.
touchdown. That he's still. I mean, he should be owned, especially in deeper leagues.
He should
And
definitely be owned. I think he's kind of that. I mean, he's a little touchdown dependent just because there's only so many yards to be given up, and Cup's taking so many of them, and then Woods is picking up a little bit after that. So I think this could be a huge game for Henderson, though. Like the passing game is going to get what they get, but I think this has the opportunity for a lot of garbage time runs from Henderson. Um, I think Henderson's going to have a great day this week.
yeah, I mean, definitely wouldn't be surprised. It's not like they are facing the most difficult defense in the
Yeah.
NFL.
So, and I don't, I want to do this without being rude. Other than Cooks, is there anybody that we should care about on Houston?
Okay, so I talked about this in yesterday's episode. Tyrod Taylor looks like he's going to be back. So, not something that probably changes your mind for this game, but just see how he plays. See if
Yeah.
I'm worried with the left tackle Tunzel being out. I think he's maybe out for this season. I'm not sure. But I'm worried with, losing, one of the best left tackles in the NFL a few weeks ago. Like, that obviously is going to make things more difficult. It's a pretty important position. But that's the worry. I'm hesitant to say, I don't think Tyrod is a top 10 quarterback like he was when he went out. I don't think I was saying anything crazy. But if he's a top 15, top 18 guy, that looks really good considering Davis Mills was like the worst fantasy quarterback, in all the NFL. So if he can get a top 15, top 18 guy, Cooks has more value. David Johnson has more value. The whole offense has more value because they're going to be going down the field scoring touchdowns as well. So not just yards, but touchdowns. So to me, yeah, I'm a Texan fan, so I'm biased on this. But Cooks is a stud. Honestly, he could get traded before. He might be traded before the kickoff because they're not going anywhere. But assuming Cooks is there, Cooks is a stud. David Johnson is a name that you probably should be owned in most leagues. I think he looks to be the guy. And if Tyrod is good, everybody's value goes up a little bit, even though the value's low. Besides Cooks.
Yeah, I still think even if Valley goes up a little bit, Cooks is still really the only guy you're excited to start. But I think Cooks a guy who's already having a pretty decent season could move himself up a couple spots with a decent quarterback. Like I'd actually be kind of excited for what Cooks can do the rest of the season with a better quarterback for sure.
Yeah, and Cooks has been solid all season, so it's not like I was curious where David Johnson I feel like he's probably like top, I don't know, what is he? He's now 50-ish. So I bet he's like top 40 running back. He probably, especially, we'll see. Well, we'll wait and see how it all works with Tyrod when he comes back.
All right. Next up, Niners Bears. Quarterback play was ugly. We talked about the weather. The weather was garbage. But Elijah Mitchell, number 12, firmly
great.
still the guy. Looked great. I have no idea how he was dropped in the league I was in, but I'm glad he was. Samuel, number 7, even with like a not great day from Garoppolo, got his. Until Kittle comes back, those are really the two guys.
Yeah, and it looks like Garoppolo will be the starter this upcoming week, which, come on, give it to Lance. But looks like it will be Garoppolo. I don't know. It could be because Lance, the injury. But I'm hoping to see that. So part of me wants to see a bad game from Garoppolo here. But it's going against Chicago. Hopefully, for Deebo Samuel owners, I think, it's probably better for Garoppolo to be in there. But this game was not good, obviously, like you said, for Garoppolo, and he still had 7 for 100 and a touchdown. So Deebo's very good. Currently wide receiver 2, only behind Cooper Kupp. Now, I will say Cooper Kupp is like, the difference between 1 and 2 is like the same as the difference between 2 and 15. Like, the difference is crazy between 1 and 2, but Deebo's been really good. Nobody else there until Kittle comes back. They definitely need Kittle. There's nobody else besides, Elijah Mitchell who's been good. And then he looked really good too, especially early on. He had 60 yards and a touchdown that first drive, and they just looked like, he looked great. The offensive line looked great. Everything was clicking on that first drive, but they really need another option there. So once Kittle comes back, I think that will really upgrade this offense.
Yeah. All right, other side Bears. Not a ton to talk about here. Herbert had a great day. Um, appears to, as long as he's the guy, um, be a solid start. Was number 6. Um, and Komet is flirting with that on your tight ends bye week area. Other than that, there's not a ton going on there.
Yeah, Allen Robinson, if you want to drop him, completely okay with that. Only 4
Yeah.
targets, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I understand if you hold on to him as like a flyer still, if this gets turned around. But no qualms if you drop him or if you pick him up if he is dropped. But yeah, it's just not been working. It's not Fields' fault either. I mean, he just has no shot. But Herbert has been absolutely incredible. I mean, even in this awful offense, averaging over 5 yards a carry, running back 6 with no touchdowns. So yeah, he was pretty good in this game. So really, I don't think no touchdowns. So yeah, had a really solid game there, but nothing else. Cole Kmet, I still think could have a really solid rest of the season. I've talked about him, but yeah, no wide receivers as of now. Herbert, if as long as Montgomery's out, is a fantastic play. Looking really good.
Yeah. All right, Patriots Chargers. Patriots kind of had a nice game, kind of almost across the board.
Look at those running
Everywhere you
backs.
look. Yeah, it's insane. So 3 top 20 running backs last week. So I don't think we expect that to hold up. But Harris and Taylor, honestly, Taylor only had 21 yards. He just had 2 touchdowns, so that'll help you out there. But I mean, Damian Harris is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He looked awesome, 106 yards, couple of touchdowns. Um, the receivers, Myers is still the guy if you are starting one, but he's still in that area where you're hoping for better options. And I like Hunter Henry. I still think he's kind of on the fringe of an every week guy, but he's a real nice bye week fill-in guy. Other than that, Mac Jones still isn't relevant, even though he had a really good week. But
Yeah, Mac Jones is starting to look a lot better, which is good for the rest of the offense at
it's good for
least.
the rest of the offense for sure.
Yeah, Damon Harris continues to produce. Looks really good here with James White being out. And the speaking of James White being out, Brandon Bolden was the big recipient of that. 6 for 79 and a touchdown through the air. So yeah, he did pretty well there, making him running back 5, and Harris being running back 3, Taylor being running back 16. That's pretty wild. But yeah, Taylor getting those 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah,
I mean, he shouldn't be owned in any league. I don't think there's just too many mouths to feed. But yeah, you mentioned Hunter Henry. I think he's probably the most interesting name. He's been top 14 the last 4 weeks. And with Jonnu being there, and I think Jonnu is going to be out a couple weeks. I think I saw. So if that's the case, then that even clears the path maybe a little bit more. So yeah, I think he's like a borderline like top 10 guy. So you could ride with him pretty much every week if you wanted to. He's been really good these last few weeks. I mean, not amazing. I mean, you're getting, what did he do this week? 2 for 23 and a touchdown. So you get 10 points out of it. But if he's getting 10 points a game, where are you going to get that at tight end, on the waiver wire? So
I don't know how many times we have to say it, but aside from the top, you're just hoping for a touchdown to your tight end. Yeah. That's what you're going for. So, all right, other side Chargers. This should be a good game. I know the Patriots aren't like the Patriots we're used to, but I think they can at least put up something to stick with them for a little bit. But Herbert's still a top 10 guy. They're coming off a bye, so not a ton of new information. Didn't have a great week 6 overall, like the team didn't. Herbert's still a top 10 guy. Eckler's still a stud. Williams, Allen. There's like nobody to talk about. It's just like you're starting these guys and you're not starting anybody else. It's just so clear cut. There's 4 guys you're starting. Cook's kind of up in the air for bye week filling. But other than that, there's nothing super exciting here.
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a Keenan Allen. I think we still will see it. Him really step up points wise. Mike Williams, feel like you got to play him. Even though he's so boomer bust, but
yeah,
Mike Williams definitely. He's had a few bad. He's in the last 4 weeks. Week 3, number 1. Week 4, 105. Week 5, number 2. Week 6, 67. So it's like, but before that he was 14 and 10. So yeah, definitely throwing him out there. Keenan Allen as well. Just hasn't been lived up to where you drafted him. And Cook is fine. It's up to you. I think you probably have he's in the mix with all the other guys. So
Yeah.
if you want to play him, if you like him here, if not, there's the difference between tight end 10 and 15 and 20 is. I mean, you're just kind of guessing who's going to get in the end zone. You're trying to make a guess on that. So hopefully we'll see some much better days for this offense because it was not very good the last time we saw them.
All right. Jags, Seahawks. Jags coming off the bye week. Honestly, trending up. It's well known I'm very high on James Robinson. He's a top 10 guy for the season. I think he remains there and continues just to play it out real well. Lawrence has three fairly solid weeks in a row before the bye week, so he's trending the right direction. I don't know what you want to talk about those. We're going to talk about the wide receiver situation a little bit in a different episode this week. But Marvin Jones is looks to be trending maybe in the right way. So, but you got to be excited about what Lawrence might be bringing to the table.
Yeah, threw 41 times the last time we saw him. Got their first win. I think wasn't this then week 6. I think they got their first win. Yep. So that was awesome. Remember when they were 1-0 and they said not satisfied with 1-0 back last year, and they hadn't won since. Like, they put a tweet out saying we're not satisfied or something with 1-0, and then they hadn't won since. Nice to see them get a win. Trevor Lawrence, as we've talked about before, might be my favorite quarterback. I don't even know. I don't know why I became a Trevor Lawrence fan, but
it seemed to happen in the last couple of weeks. Like,
I don't know.
You've kept it a little bit under control in the show, but like talking to you, it's.
But yeah, I think his schedule looks pretty good the rest of the season. I like him as a streaming option in this game. I think he'll be good. If he's not owned, I think he's a nice ad. Or if you own him, I think he could be a play. Robinson, you talked about, like he's been incredible. Really happy with him. And we'll talk more about the wide receivers, but I don't want to not say anything. Marvin Jones and Chenal both had 10 targets, so that's good to see. And Marvin Jones really taking advantage of that at wide receiver 8 back in week 6. So
I mean, just as a broad, if Lawrence is figuring it out, that's obviously gonna rise everybody.
And those are the two guys there, the big guys, Chenalton, Marvin Jones.
Yeah. Other side, the Seahawks.
I don't want to talk about this team. This is so brutal. This is ugly.
Yeah. There's just, I mean, it's Metcalf. And that's it.
He had an 84-yard touchdown to start the game. If you take that off of the I know it counts for Metcalf. If you take that off of Geno Smith, because a lot of that was after the catch too. What did Geno Smith do in this game? I mean, this was.
I mean, what did you expect from Geno Smith? Like, I'm not trying to. Like,
I expect
he's a nice person.
After the first play to have more than 80 yards passing. I would expect that.
I don't know that I did. I don't know that I did.
I will say I didn't start Tyler Lockett this week, and I'm glad I did
No.
it. And I think he's on the bench until Russell comes back, and he's one of those guys. Once Russell is back in, you immediately put him back in your lineup. But until that happens, this is just, oh man.
I think you, at least for this week, still have to roll with Metcalf. But if, like, as you said, if he doesn't have that 84-yard catch, like, he only had 96 total yards and 2 catches.
He had 1 catch for 12 yards besides that. Lockett had 2 for 12. Like, this was really bad. And it was an ugly game on both sides. So, they did not want to lose the game. But this, I mean, it was one of the ugliest primetime games we've ever had, I think. Like, just watching it was so frustrating. So, yeah, it was not a good Monday Night Football game.
No. You have to start Metcalf, at least this week. I'm just glad I'm not in that position.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's not super helpful to everybody, but you have to this week. But honestly, if he has another week where, like, I guess if he has another big play, like, you just hope he does that every week. But
I kind of feel like Jacksonville, I mean, obviously it's only a 3-point. I think Jacksonville's the better team. I think Jacksonville's going to win this game. I know it's at home. That's why Seattle's favored, but Seattle's really tough to play. But, the crowd's going to, at 4 o'clock game, they're going to come out. At 1 o'clock their time, they're going to be out there. They're going to be loud. But this kind of feels like, I think this feels like a game where it's weird to say Jacksonville is the better team. And I think they're going to win. But
I agree with you. Geno Smith is terrible.
But we'll see.
So bad.
We'll see. I hope they do win Jacksonville because I guess I'm a Trevor Lawrence fan. So
That feels like something you just shouldn't be rooting for. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
that.
Like I can say whatever I want. I
Houston's
don't have a
irrelevant this
team.
year, so it's fine. And
I
it's
will
not
say
the
as
Colts.
much as
It's like
as much as much as we talk about the Bengals and like all the red stuff behind me, people aren't gonna believe me that I'm not a Bengals fan. But like it is kind of nice to watch football and not have a huge rooting interest, except for I just want Jamar Chase to become the best wide receiver of all time. But that's selfish.
Well, I think when I think of the Jack, I just don't think I know they're a division rival, but it's not like the Colts and the Titans. It's just
Yeah. No,
not
I
the
get
same.
you.
Yeah, I think it
Probably
also
because
has
they've
to
been
do
terrible forever.
that also probably has a big piece of it. They haven't been like beating us, every year and stuff. So not like the
Yeah.
Colts. All right, moving on to the Buccaneers and Saints. All right,
Oh, you
so
gonna be talking about the Geno Smith led
no,
Seahawks too much?
I'm done. Tom Brady, quarterback 5, threw for 4 touchdowns, only threw 200 yards. That's why he's down at quarterback 5.
Decent at
Terrible.
football.
But yeah, he's just below Josh Allen for the best quarterback this year, points per game wise. But yeah, he's been really good. Fournette's been incredible, continues to amaze. But I do want to talk about because I don't think there's anything besides obviously you're playing Fournette and Brady.
Yeah.
But and you're playing all these guys too. But Chris Godwin, incredible. Mike Evans, 3 touchdowns. Obviously, that's pretty good. Only behind Chase and Cup that's why he's wide receiver 3. Yeah. And we didn't see Antonio Brown this game. He didn't play. But Antonio Brown's currently wide receiver 7. So they have 3 guys currently in the top 20. Talked about this before. I mean, this offense is just, Brady's just incredible. I mean, it's just crazy. I know when he was on the Manning broadcast, like he's like, they're asked like, Eli's like, how do you keep getting better? Like it's like, well, it helps when showing. He's like, yeah, I got that guy. Like Mike Evans. When he's like, you look at these guys around me and he's not, he's good. Obviously Brady's incredible. He's the best of all time, but Godwin, Brown, Antonio Brown, Evans, the team is absolutely stacked on offense. And
you've got 3 guys who
not even out there.
You've got 3 guys who on a lot of NFL teams are the number 1. Like,
Evans is a number 1 on how many teams? Most of them, right? Godwin's a number 1 on half of them, and Antonio Brown is a number 1 on probably 10 of them. I don't even know how many. I'm just throwing out names, but it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I don't understand how it keeps happening. And then when Gronk comes back, somehow when Gronk comes back, he's going to be good again, but it's also not going to take away from the other 3 guys, and I'm not going to understand how it's happening. Like, normally you'd be like, all right, they have a great tight end coming back. One of his wide receivers has to fall off. It just won't. Like, yeah, it's magic.
Like, Godwin will have, 7 for 100, but no touchdown. Mike Evans will have 5 for 50 and a couple touchdowns. Gronk will have 6 and a touchdown. And then it's like Antonio Brown will have 8 catches for, whatever. It's like they somehow figure out a way to all be fantasy relevant.
I told you how. Magic. It's the only explanation. There's nothing in reality that makes this make sense.
And you might be wondering why we're talking so much about this, because if you look at the other team, I don't want to talk about the other team because that was also, they cannot go out. We're going to blame Geno Smith. We're going to blame Seattle for how ugly of a game that was. New Orleans cannot go. We cannot let them slide either. They were also terrible.
Here's the thing with them. It's kind of the same thing as Seattle right now. There's one guy you're starting. At least this way you feel good about it going forward no matter what. Like, you're starting Kamara, and then you're done. You're just not thinking about anybody else.
Really, I thought Callaway had some value because he's the number 1 guy, but no. And Kamara had 10 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown, so he had a good day. Very good day. Whenever you have 10 catches as a running back, you're probably going to have a pretty good day. But yeah,
I will admit, after like that 2 to 4, like week 2, week 4, not great, I was pretty down on him. Like, probably aggressively so. I get some things right. I get some things wrong. This appears to be the latter of those 2 options.
Okay, real quick. Do you think Alvin Kamara, he's currently running back 3 by a points per game basis. I believe, let's just say McCaffrey comes back here in a week or so. So I'm going to say him and Henry are 1 and 2 if McCaffrey comes back.
Yeah.
Do you think Kamara's 3?
I think I'd still rather have Cook, but...
And Eckler, but you'd put him over Eckler and...
Yeah.
So he's 3-4. Like he's about where you drafted him. He's back, and he's actually at. It's kind of weird because it's like he's been disappointing, and then all of a sudden this week, and it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's Alvin freaking Kamara. All right.
I will say you're in a great position with him already having his bye week. I do like that. Like,
Yeah. So yeah, he's very good. So if you have Alvin Kamara, you could be happy now. Rest of the season, it doesn't matter. And Michael Thomas, when he comes back, he we'll see.
yes,
I mean, I think
I feel pretty good about it. He's got enough talent. Even Jameson can.
yeah,
I think I just called him Jameson. I think I just combined everything.
that's
But
okay.
so, all right. I think we've talked about this.
I don't pay you to pronounce the names, okay?
We're getting paid. Missed that part.
Check got lost in the mail. I'm sorry. Washington football team versus the Denver Broncos.
I know this small side. Just pick a name. It's driving me insane.
I think
hate
it might
it
just stay.
so much.
I think we're gonna be 50 years and it's still gonna be the Washington football team.
Please no. It drives me insane just to see, because like you read it everywhere because they always go by the mascot or the nickname, whatever you want to call it. And I hate watching so versus football team. It looks so dumb. Just please fix it. All right, let's get back to fantasy. I have my little rant.
Okay, can we talk about real quick Taylor Heineke, who's been pretty solid actually. Week 5 and week 6 he wasn't great, but I don't know if did you see the Heineke play where he dove into the end zone and he was an easy touchdown and he dove in. There was nobody within 3 yards of him, but when he was diving in, the rules they made it to protect quarterbacks. They made it
gave
where
himself up.
He gave himself if you dive forward. You don't. I guess not giving yourself up, but if your knee hit, it's basically wherever you're down. Like his knee went down as he's diving in the end zone, so he's down like right there to protect quarterback. So he's diving in. He didn't need to. He could have just ran in, but he just kind of dove in. His knee hits the ground. They get stopped, and then they get stopped again. They actually don't even score a touchdown. He could have had a much better day. He still had a pretty solid day. He had 95 yards rushing.
I would say he almost had 100 yards rushing.
Yeah, which is crazy. But Heineke, I'm not overly excited about him against Denver here. I don't think he'll. I'm not.
I like him as far as he is serviceable enough that he makes McLaurin good, and he's good enough to keep the offense around him worthwhile.
Man, McLaurin's so good. I know he has been a little disappointing where you drafted in the last couple of weeks. He wasn't great, but he's been a boomer bust, like to the T. Like he's been really good or not great. But I think
top 5 or 50.
I think we'll start seeing a little bit more consistency here. But yeah, he's been really good overall. I guess not quite what you drafted him. Outside of McLaurin, Seals Jones, as long as Thomas is out, which looks like he'll be out a few more weeks, I think he's still a top 10 guy to me, playing all the snaps. McLaurin, and then besides him, I guess McKissick got I guess I should mention he got the bulk of the snaps. So he at least was getting the snaps. He had 4 catches for 34 yards as well as 4 carries. But Gibson still had 14 carries when he was in there. So when Gibson was in there, they were giving him the ball. So like McKissick, I think he should obviously be owned. But I mean, it's still Gibson, I think, if he's healthy. But Gibson's been, lingering injuries, so he's fighting through it.
Yeah, I think it's Gibson. I'm not.
But if you have Gibson and McKissick is out there, I think you definitely should get him. Actually, I think if McKissick's out there, no matter who you own, you probably should pick him up.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Denver. This is another. We're going to talk a little bit here, but we're going to talk a little bit more. Jerry Jeudy's looks to be coming off the IR. So we're going to kind of touch on that and the wide receiver situation in general, but an okay game from Bridgewater. He's another one of those guys where I like him in the fact that he's serviceable enough to make the rest of the team where they need to be. He's not a guy you're starting in fantasy, but
if you were in one of my leagues, he's one of those guys that against Washington this week, he may be in that conversation to start. He's one of those guys I'm looking at. There's another, because a lot of teams carry 2 depending on the type of, they carry 2 quarterbacks when they shouldn't, and you're you're looking at okay, the best available quarterback is quarterback 17 or 18, and you're looking at you might be forced to play one of these guys. He's one of those guys going against Washington here, I think is a solid play when you start looking at the matchups. Washington, you're not really scared of their pass defense. So, Yeah, I think he's an okay play this week. I know he has. I mean,
Well,
he's been fine the last 3 weeks. He's been pretty solid, so I think he'll be solid again this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a top 12, top 15 guy, which
yeah,
is
yeah.
in a
I think considering there's only really one quarterback that you could be starting on bye, I don't think a lot of people are in a spot where they need to stream. So would be my I don't know. You're allowed to be higher on him than I am. I'm not high on him from a fantasy standpoint. Running backs continue to just be split down the middle. Like Williams had a much better day today, but you wouldn't feel confident about that this week. Like
yeah, he had
it's just
six for 32 and a touchdown receiving. So that's
yeah,
why he was so much
it's the
better.
touchdown. Like
But Melvin Gordon is still leading the snap count. Probably the guy you want to own. I think it's really close. I mean,
yeah,
that's the thing. Neither one of them has pulled away, so it kind of stinks for fantasy value.
I think this is just what it's going to be for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Wide receiver wise, Sutton doesn't have his best day, but still having a pretty solid year. Great week 5 and 6. So, still on a solid day. Spoiler alert for the other episode with Judy coming back. I think we're both at least excited to see what he does coming back. And a guy who I feel like has been a solid tight end all year, but still doesn't get a ton of love. Noah Fant. I mean, he was 17 last week, but he's 10 on the year, and what is that? 4 out of 7 weeks has been solidly in the top 10. Like,
And like he had 5 for 39. I don't have the numbers in front of me where 17 put in, but that's 8.9 points. An extra catch or two, he's probably top 10 anyway, or close to
he
it.
falls
Maybe
in the
top
end
12,
zone.
or
He
if
falls
he's
in the
in
end
the end
zone.
zone.
He's easily in the 12.
So yeah, he might be a couple catches away from being 10, 12. So yeah, he's good. You drafted him at 8. He's around there, I think, rest of the season.
I just feel like with all like the tight ends that are going around, he just doesn't seem to come up, and I always like to bring him up because I feel like it's overlooked a little bit. Coming off a bye, we've got Cowboys. They're playing the Vikings. Dak's a top 10 guy. Zeke's a top 10 guy, a little bit lower than 5, but I mean, I don't think you're going to get too angry about that. Lamb and Cooper continue to be extraordinarily solid plays. And your guy Schultz has proven himself to be an every week tight end.
I do love me some Dalton Schultz. I was on that. I feel like I was on that before anybody else.
Oh, I'll give you that one.
So yeah, he's been. I mean, look at that. Week 3, number 1. Week 4, number 3. Week 5, number 6. Week 6, number 8. He is going down slowly, but yeah, he's been really good the last 4 weeks, and currently tight end 4. I was high on Dalton Schultz. I thought he could be a top 10, maybe not even top 10, top 12 guy. I kind of like, this offense is really good. He seems like he's going to be the number 1 tight end even after this. I'm like, after week 1. I think it was the snap count, and after 2, both weeks, like he got more snaps. Like it looked like he was the guy, even though nobody was really ranking him higher. I didn't expect him to be this, but who did? Nobody. Tight end 4, Dalton Schultz, 5 for 79 the last time I saw him. So yeah, I mean he's been really good. CeeDee Lamb is right where you drafted him. I know a lot of people had him as like a potential being the number 1 guy this year. Like what overall, like they were. I've heard that a lot. People are really high on CeeDee Lamb, and he's right where you drafted him. So I guess people are disappointed probably, but it's where you drafted him. So unless you overdrafted him, it's where he was. So Cooper's been fine. He's a little less than what you drafted, but he's been pretty good as well. So Zeke's been fine. The whole offense has been really good. I mean, this is one of the best offenses in the NFL. So I think there's not much value beyond Amari Cooper, but like. Wide receiver wise, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper. I don't really see a third wide receiver option, but those 2 are the guys. Plus, because they use so many 2 tight end sets, this is a team that does do that. So it's those 2 guys.
Yep. Other side of the ball, Vikings. The greatest quarterback of all time, Kirk Cousins. I don't mean that. I like when I say things that seem a little outlandish, and they work out. Granted, it was 1 week and he was number 1, but I'm taking it, and it's going to make me feel good. So, top 10 guy. We've talked about it when we did our top 10s a couple weeks ago. I think he's in the top 10 when it comes to the end of the season. I really like the offense, and he's played very well in it. Cook is obviously just he doesn't look great in like the current like overall, but that's because the 1 week he went down, like he was running back 44, so that severely hurt him. I mean, he's a top. To me, if if once McCaffrey comes back, he's still the third best running back. So he's a stud. Jefferson, Thielen, every day you're throwing out there. Osborne's working his way into consideration in deep leagues. We've talked about him a few times. Really like the offense. He's sitting at 45 for the year. A couple of great weeks of 13 and 11. This offense just there's just everything. I love everything about this offense.
Yeah, I mean, I've been high on him. We've been high on him. This is one of my favorite offenses. Coming off a bye, couldn't have really been a better time for Dalvin Cook just to make sure everything's right there.
Yeah,
He
heal up
obviously
the
week
rest.
6 they felt he was good. He got 30 carries, but just make sure everything's good. 29 carries. And yeah, week 4 he was banged up, so we see that he missed week 3, banged up. Week 4 he still played, but not really, and not really himself. And then week 5 he's out again. So but nice to see that. Yeah, I was looking at rest of the season on Fantasy Pros. They have Henry at 1. They have Cook at 2. McCaffrey way down there, so they must maybe he's not going to be out. Maybe he's going to be out a lot.
Maybe he's out longer than we think.
Yeah, so that obviously whenever he comes back, he'll be up there. But Jonathan Taylor 3, Zeke 4. This is in standard. Let me go PPR. Henry, Kamara. Okay, this is better. Henry, Kamara, Eckler, Cook at 4. Elliott 5, Jonathan Taylor 6. So again, I think Cook is right there at that spot. I was nervous about him. I still obviously I like Swift as a top 10 guy. I said I'd rather have Swift than Cook at the time. Now because I've seen it from Cook, I felt better about Swift because of the injury with Cook. Cook has looked like he looked good. Bye week came. Cook's a top 3 guy, top 4 guy. So. Yeah, and Thielen's was great. Jefferson's great. Osborne's been, had hitter. He's had some big hits as well. Yeah, this is a really good offense. So player studs, and then Osborne could be a deep league play as well if you need somebody.
Yep. All right, our Monday night game. Giants Chiefs. We talked about it in the episode yesterday. I like a lot of the Giants as kind of streaming options in this game. We've seen the Chiefs defense just isn't good. There's no fancy way to say it. They're just not good. I think Jones could have a decent week this week. He's just inside the top 20 on the season, but I think he could hold his own. Booker looked good, top 20 guy. This wide receiver situation is a mess. But we've talked about this a lot of times. When you're down that many people, it's kind of whoever's left standing probably has some decent value.
Yeah, it's looking just like Darius Slayton had 9 targets. Evan Ingram had 8. Pettis had 5. He actually caught all 5 of those for 39 and touchdowns. So, I mean, we'll see who suits up. But if a lot of these guys are out, especially Shepard, I've been notoriously high on Shepard. I think Sterling Shepard is. I mean, he's currently wide
he's
receiver
on the
20.
field.
Yeah. There's a good chance he's a flex. He's a flex play when he's on the field, and he's shown. Week 1 he was number 9. Week 2 he's 21. I know that's been quite removed from that, but in week 6 he was wide receiver 17. So when he suits up, he's just missed so much. I think he's a really solid play. And yeah, this defense isn't great. So Kansas City is a mess. I still think Kansas City will win this game super comfortably. I think they're going to come out. I think Mahomes will have a big day. We'll talk about them here in a minute, but I think this is going to be they're 10-point favorites. This is a game where I think Kansas City by a couple touchdowns feels about right. But I still think Jones, he has the rushing, which helps his value. I think he'll have a solid day. And whoever suits up, I think Evan Ingram's a nice
I think Evan Ingram's a nice
streaming tight end as well. Yeah.
Nice streaming tight end for sure. All right, last team. Kansas City Chiefs. Mahomes is good. No injury concerns. I know he went out last game, but we don't have to watch Chad Henne on Monday Night Football, so that's good. Not a good week for them, obviously. I'm just not that concerned. Yes, Mahomes is not the number 1 quarterback, which is where he was drafted. You're still starting Mahomes every week. You're just a little bit readjusting expectations, but I think they're going to come out on fire this week. I think they hate what happened last week, obviously, and they're just going to come out and I think they're going to put on a show.
Yeah, I was looking Quarterback, I'm looking at. Let me see if Nope, I might not be able to try to get that soon. But yeah, it's not like Mahomes has been bad. He's 3 points behind Josh Allen for the. Oh, that was postseason. That's why that's not right. I was like, why are these numbers not making sense? He's 3 points behind Josh Allen for this season. So it's not like from 7 or 6 to 1. It's not that big a difference. It could be changed. Mahomes, I think, was quarterback one in like week 5, week 4, somewhere around there. So it's like it's changed obviously a little bit, but yeah, Mahomes will be fine. I think they'll be fine. The one thing I am worried about is if I don't think this. I think they're still favorites. I think they're gonna win this. No. What I'm saying, the Chargers. I was still going through the teams. I'm like, no, not Vegas. No, not Denver. The Chargers, I think, are probably the best team in the division. But I still think they're going to be in contention for division/wild card. But if for whatever reason this really does fall apart, which I don't think it will, but they have not played well, I would be worried later on in the season if they're not playing for anything that this is a type of they would. I think they would sit some of these big guys. I don't think that's going to happen, but
yeah, I don't think they'll be that out of it. No.
But if there is a way, now that we have two wild, like all these, half the league makes the playoffs now, it should be fine. But if like Mahomes obviously got injured, then I would be worried later in the season that they might shut down Kelsey and some of these guys and just try to move on from this season. But outside of that, just because they haven't looked good, I'm more concerned about that. Mahomes getting a concussion, you never obviously anything in the head that always concerns you. Or he didn't have. Did he?
It wasn't actually.
It wasn't a concussion.
They thought it was, but
yeah, like Mahomes had 25 points per game last year. He has 23 this year, so he's a couple points behind. But he can easily get back up to 25. He was number 1 last year, removing Dak and Marcus Mariota because he only played one game. But Josh Allen was right behind him, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray. So, he's right there, up there still. No, he'll be fine.
Yep. All right, that is week 8. Some really good games. I feel like the primetime games look pretty good this week, so that's good. Pretty excited for this week to see what happens. If you made it this far, thank you. We very much appreciate that. We put out 5 episodes a week. Tuesdays, injuries, waiver wire pickups. Wednesdays, what you just watched today, go through every game for the following week. And then the other 3, kind of up in the air. This week we're gonna kind of, a lot of weeks we'll just focus on one player in each episode, quick 5-minute episodes. So we're gonna do some more of that. So we appreciate you stopping by. Like, if you made this far, you at least like it a little bit. Just hit the like; it helps us out. Subscribe if you haven't. Leave us a comment if there's anything you want us to chat about.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, if you made it this far, wow, thank you so much. That's awesome. All the 400 plus people that have subscribed, if you're one of those, thank you so much. And if you're not one of those, maybe you could do it. You could change it. You could. It could happen. All you gotta do is hit the subscribe
button. It's fairly simple.
But thank you so much. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow and Friday, Saturday for whatever we decide to do. It's just whatever. Well, this week we know, but some weeks we don't. So make sure to come by. We'll be doing. It's always going to be fantasy football. That's one thing we can promise. So if you like fantasy football, that's what we do. So make sure to come back. And we'll discuss some cool things. That's what we do. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Come back tomorrow. Peace.
See ya.